All right. Hey, guys, welcome at all of our campuses. If you have a copy of Scripture, I'm going to invite you to take it out and turn with me to Matthew chapter 25. We're going to be spending some time there today, but before we do that, I do want to say I could hear at our campus, I'm sure at all the campuses, the exuberance and the clapping over Commitment Weekend, and of course that's because Commitment Weekend means there's going to be donuts in the lobby afterwards, okay? So, no, I know, all right. But in all seriousness, no, this is a very spiritually significant moment and weekend in the life of our church. And I said something last week that it was funny in the sermon when I said it. As soon as I said it, I was like, I don't know if that came out exactly right. And it was funny because it wasn't in the script, all right? So, but what I said was, hey, spiritually significant moments don't come around every single day. And that's, I don't know if that's really true, but what I meant by it was this. Let me give you an analogy, okay? You parent a child every single day, right? You interact with them every single day. You're never more their parent one day than you're not another day. But that doesn't mean that every single day in their life is as significant in terms of them looking back on it and that moment that was very significant for them. You parent them the same every single day, but then there are days, right? Your little boy is finally old enough to get his first pocket knife at 2.5 years old, okay? Amen. So, your daughter's off, she kicks her first goal, or she goes to a new school. I've learned this from some of you guys, some of our families at Mercy Hill. 13 or some number, it's really cool to kind of mark a transition with children where you say, hey, you're moving out of the greenhouse, you're moving outside in terms of, the little plants going out, the gardener's still tending it, but the weather's got to start getting to you a little bit. There's got to be some freedom. In our family, we saw some other families do this. At 13, it's a very spiritually significant moment for us. We don't do stuff like this, okay? But what we did do was put Anna and Hattie Joe on a plane to go see a Christian concert at Red Rocks. And the reason that we did that, and they spent 2 days out there with my sister, and the reason that we did that is because we wanted to affirm something. Worship has always been a big part of her life. And we wanted to say at 13, there's this moment. I can't wait to do that with my boys at 13 because we're going python hunting in the Everglades. Okay, I've already planned it. Okay, I don't know what spiritual significance that is, but we're crushing the head of the serpent. I don't know, okay? But my point is, you guys understand the analogy, right? It's like those are big moments. Guys, today is a big moment. It's not that God is not parenting us in other days, but there are days that we look back on that were just significant for us. Times that we get to plant a church, a campus launch, don't come around every single day, right? When we think about sending missionaries, when we think about seeing baptisms, we're seeing baptisms at all the campuses, at many of the services this weekend. These are moments when we get a chance to step off the sideline onto the front line, make a commitment around our generosity. It is a spiritually significant moment. And so that's what we're excited about today. And we're going to dive into a story that really, I think, kind of gets to the heart of things today in Matthew chapter 25. Where we are going to see a preconceived notion around Christianity, I think, crumble, okay? If you're brand new today, I hope you're going to see us at our best as we give our time, talent, and ultimately we're going to commit to our treasure. But if you are new with us today, it may be true that when you think about Christianity, or maybe you're at one of our campuses today and you're brand new, you think about a list of things that you're not supposed to do. That's what the faith is in your mind. It's a restriction list of things that God doesn't want you to do. I joke around about it all the time. Don't drink, cuss, smoke, or chew, or date girls who do. Okay, that was the thing when I was growing up. If you just stay away from those kind of things, then, you'll be good. Obviously, that's a joke. There's some other list that you have in your mind. But if you have a list of things that you don't do, I want to make sure you understand that there is a part of holiness where there's things that we don't do, but so much of the faith is what we do, not what we don't do. It's about what we get to engage in. That God in the gospel not only gave us life, but he gave us purpose. And he has said to his children, go and bear fruit and live for my kingdom. Here's the big idea this weekend. We are called to bear fruit with what we have been given. We are called to make an impact. We are not here to sit around. Jesus didn't die to create spectators. He died to create servants, workers, not watchers. And I don't just mean the pastors of the church or the elders of the church or the group leaders of the church. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about every single one of us that is a believer, a spirit-empowered believer. There are things that God entrusts to us that we would go and leverage for kingdom growth. The story that we're going to see today is about a wicked servant who became a wicked servant not because of something that he did, but because of something that he didn't do. He was too fearful of incurring loss. Maybe he was too lazy to work through that fear. And what he ends up doing is taking what the master gives him to leverage and multiply, and he just kind of goes and buries it. Man, I don't care about the kingdom growth. I'm just trying to look out for myself. You know, today I think it's a good message for us, and it kind of fits into a lot of the themes that we have around Mercy Hill, because you guys know at Mercy Hill we attract growth-oriented people. You don't want to be in the same place next year. At Mercy Hill, we say all the time, you were made for more than possessions and promotions. Your kids were made for more than straight A's and soccer. And that resonates in our church. If you feel that, like, man, God's got something for me to do, the reason you feel that is because you're right, and he's given you something to do. He's given you a life that you are supposed to multiply for his kingdom. And so today what we get a chance to do in Matthew chapter 25 is basically, you guys have heard the phrase before, where you tell somebody, man, leave it on the field. You know, that's what we're called to do as believers. What we're called to do as believers, I think, is sort of make a choice on the front end that we're not going to have regrets later that we didn't leave it all out there, that we didn't run as hard as we could, that we shrank back in fear rather than step forward in faith. My son is playing football for the first time, tackle football for the first time, and every week, man, it's like, man, that's my favorite 2 minutes where I get to give him the pep talk, you know, for going out there. But I'm going to tell you something. The last 30 seconds of the pep talk, we get out of the car because his mama ain't allowed to hear that part, okay? Like, we're going hard, man. And what am I trying to get him to do? I'm trying to get him to make a choice on the front end to not have regrets on the back end about leaving his energy tank full. Man, I'm saying go for it, go for it, go for it. That's what this story is today. Man, this story is, hey, you get one shot in life. Are you not in it for the biggest splash that you can make? Well, let's commit now to do that. Man, let's don't waste our life. And a lot of times we talk about wasting our life. We think that's for the aimless young professional or college student. No. There are plenty of MBA, master's degrees, CEOs. I mean, there's plenty of people that keep wasting their life because they're looking at the wrong things. They're leveraging for the wrong things. Man, this can speak to every single one of us here today. I pray that what God's going to do in this passage in Matthew 25 is break our hearts for his mission and our impact in his mission. And then we're going to go into a time of commitment together, all right? Verse 14, here's what it says. For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, and to another 2, and to another 1, and to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded them and made 5 talents more. So also he who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received only 1 talent went and dug it in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of the servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents here, and I have made 5 talents more. And his master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over little, I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of the master. Don't you understand? Being given something to leverage for his kingdom growth is our joy. You enter into the joy of the master. He also said to the 2 talents, Come forward, saying, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here, I have made 2 talents more. And his master said, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over little, and I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. Now, I've dropped you right into Matthew chapter 25 that comes, there's 2 parts to this. We started in verse 14. What comes before verse 14 is another parable that sort of prepares us for the same kind of similar idea. It's a parable of the 10 virgins. And this parable is about readiness for the return, readiness for the kingdom of God to come. Now, he goes on and he gets into the parable that we're talking about this weekend. And basically what he's saying is, if the first parable was a little bit about readiness, the second parable is about showing your readiness. How ready are you? Are you ready to give an account to the master who comes back? And we say, this is what I did with my life. You could say it like this. We show readiness for the coming kingdom by leveraging, we say this all the time at Mercy Hill, time, talent, and treasure for kingdom growth now. I show that I'm ready for then when God is going to come and usher in his new heavens and new earth. I'm ready for that day, and I show that by leveraging my time, talent, and treasure in this day. And this is the heart of the story, right? You got these two servants, and the two servants are given two different sums, but they're both a ton of money. Okay, it's hard to know exactly what a talent would be, but most commentators say, man, it's the highest denomination of currency. Matthew chapter 18, actually, I mean, the way he's talking about it there, people have surmised that it's millions and millions of dollars when it's thousands of talents. So I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that it's a lot. And what the Bible tells us here is that when the servants got it, what did they do? They immediately engaged in business. That's what it said. At once, they went and they engaged in business. They didn't sit on what they were given. Listen, they didn't cower in fear over losing what they had been given because they understood this has been given to me, it's not mine. It's been given to me for a purpose so that I would leverage it, enter into the life and purpose and joy of my master by partnering with him and working with him. And so what they do, man, I'm going to go try to make a buck with what he has given me. And they leveraged what the master had given them. Now, the interesting thing here is, the master looks at them, and what does he say? He says, well done. One commentator said it like this. It's almost like the master is saying, bravo. You did exactly what I wanted you to do. I gave you something not for you. I really gave it to you so you could partner with me. And now you have gone out and engaged in business and you weren't afraid and you went for it and it worked out. Bravo, you did really well. I love the part of this story where you see that these servants go at once. Why? Because they don't know when he's going to come back. They don't know it. They go right now. I don't know exactly when it's going to happen. This week, listen, y'all, we live in an upside down world, okay? Halloween's not even over. Christmas music's on the radio, okay? It's on the radio. And my daughter was, every day, she was checking 99.5, 99.5, and apparently the Grinch has thrown the switch, okay? So it's on there now. And I just thought, and I was thinking about this week. I'm like, every day it's like checking, like, when's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? These servants have a little bit of that in their heart. I don't know when he's coming back. When is he coming back? I don't know. I'm going to be ready. I'm going to be engaging with what he has given me. I'm not going to wait till tomorrow. I'm going to leverage what he has given me now so that I can produce for his kingdom. Let me tell you 3 things about stewardship, about giving our time, talent, and treasure, okay, from this passage. The first one is this. We are stewards of what we have been given. Didn't you understand this in the very first verse? What did it say, verse 14? For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them, keyword, his property, right? He entrusted to them his property. We are not owners, we are stewards, and there is a big difference there. The servants what the servants were given still belonged to the master. What the servants were given still belonged to the master. That's the concept of stewardship. If you want to know a quick definition of stewardship, I would say something like this. A steward is one who manages the owner's possessions. That's the key. They're managing something for someone else. I think about one of the foundational principles in the Christian life is right here before us if we can understand this. One pastor said it like this, own nothing, steward everything. If we can get that in our mind, we own nothing, we steward everything. Let me ask you a question, church. What do you have that has not been given to you? I mean, people are immediately like, well, I work for a living. Well, who gave you that strong back and them sharp wits to be able to work? I mean, all you got to do is trace it back a few different times. What do you have that was not given to you in terms of a gift from God to give you the ability and time, talent, and treasure to accumulate, to do business, to do whatever it is? It is all a blessing from his hand. And a key fundamental part of Christianity that I think the passage is trying to get us to see in Matthew 25 is this principle. Man, we don't own, we steward. Now, this passage specifically is about money, but that's not what we're talking about all the time. I mean, what we talk about at Mercy Hill is time, talent, and treasure. You need to think about it like this. Your business acumen, is that yours or is it God's? Is your family yours? Or is your family God's? Are your children yours or are they God's? Is your home, your physical house, is it yours to enjoy? Of course it is. Is it also yours that God has given you to leverage for his kingdom? Of course it is. Because we are not owners, we are stewards. What do we have that we have not been given? I think about this story. I've told this story before, but you know, I come from a blue collar background. Okay, my whole life, both my parents worked. My dad, built houses and then he drove trucks the whole time I was in the house. And he later on ended up going to get a degree and is a school teacher. But when I was at home, he was swinging a hammer and driving trucks and all that kind of stuff. And the reason I bring that up is because he did a lot of ministry. He still does. He plays music in prisons a couple times a month, and he does this kind of stuff. And man, he got his eye on this guitar. Now, this was not any guitar. This is a Taylor 414 Koa woodback. Okay, this is a serious guitar, and it's not top of the line pearl inlay, any of that. I'm just talking about, you want to talk about the sweetest sounding guitar you ever heard. This is right up there among them. Okay. And he saw it not only at any music shop. This is brand new. I'm talking George's Music at Jack's Beach, okay, in Florida. And he's looking at that guitar. But the reality was, my mom's working, he's working. That's a lot of money for a guitar. And so here's what he did. Every day for a year, he didn't eat lunch. And he took that $5 and he just stuck it away, or whatever it was. And for a year, okay, he took all that money and he just piled it up. And a year later, he went into George's Music and laid the money down and bought that brand new Taylor guitar and has been using it for ministry ever since. Now, here's also what happened in that story. He gets the guitar, and I don't know. There's been a bit of a dispute on when this happened. It was sometime shortly after that. I don't know when it was. Maybe it was a couple years, or maybe it was even less than that. I'm not sure. But what happened was we were getting ready to go on a mission trip to Montana, and one of the teams that got invited to go did not have a music player, didn't have a guitar player. And so one of my best friends in the world to this day, a kid named Patrick, we said, hey man, you're going anyway. We're going to teach you how to play the guitar over the next 6 weeks so you can go, all you got to play is 3 chords, okay? It's like little kids, shine your light and all this stuff, okay? So he's like, all right, I'm going to learn how to play the guitar and we'll go. Only problem is I don't have a guitar. We'll figure that out before it comes. We get to the trip, and what does my dad do? You guys see where this story is going. He takes that Taylor guitar and he puts it in Patrick's hands and he says, hey man, go, use it for the kingdom. Man, we're going to be a different reservation. Hope it all goes well for you guys. Man, go leverage it for the kingdom. I'm not kidding when I say this, y'all. It was the man's most expensive possession, including his vehicle. I'm serious. He drove a little 1980s diesel pup truck. The guitar cost more. He puts it in his kids. I texted Patrick this week. I said, do you remember this story? He says, yeah, I remember it. I said, how long was it between when he got the guitar and he gave it to you? He said, I don't know. But he said this. He said, man, I don't know. But I know your dad is crazy for letting me take it. Not only was I a teenager, but I had no idea how to take care of a guitar. I was a complete noob. Okay? And I thought about that story. I have this vivid image of Patrick with the guitar in the airport. We got laid over, and he is sleeping in the airport, hugging the guitar like this. He was so scared of the thing, right? Now, here's the point that I want to make with this. It's not my guitar. It's not my business. They're not my children. It's not my house. It's not my money. Stewards steward. They manage. They don't own. What has God entrusted to all of us? And why has he given it to us? That we would leverage it for his kingdom. The second thing I want to show you is this from this story. We do not all have the same resources, but we do have the same opportunity to use our gifts. Man, in a room like this, across all of our different campuses, the resourcing is all over the map. I'm talking about in terms of talent, time, and treasure. It's all over the place, okay? But what's not all over the place is every one of us have the same opportunity to use and leverage what God has given us. All right, so here's the deal. 5 talents or 2 talents, both received the same commendation. Look, to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1. To each according to his ability. We don't like to say this in our culture. Okay, we don't like to say, well, little Johnny, you're a little sharper than this little Johnny, okay? But what it's saying is very clear. He's given one some things and not the other some things. Why? According to their ability. Now, I'm not just talking about with money, I'm talking about with everything in our life. Just think about it. People might be high on analytics. They might be low on emotional intelligence. Somebody might be real high in money, but they might be low on relationships. There's different things that God has given every single one of us, but we are called to leverage them all. Look what it says in verse 21. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. Here's the point. 2 different weights were given. That's one thing. People say talents is a weight. We don't know exactly what it is. It's a lot, okay? 2 different weights were given, but the same commendation was given to what the servants did with what was given, right? Well done, good and faithful servant. 5, well done, good and faithful servant. To the 2, enter into the joy that I have for you. You could say it like this, y'all. It's not about what we have. It's about what we do with what we have. What is the story in the New Testament that we all learn as a kid? If you're new to church, you won't I understand that, but it's the widow's mite. I mean, it's not about what you have. It's about what you have done with what you have. See, here's the problem I see in churches sometimes, and we can fall right into this. I can fall into this. What we say is, well, I don't have what so-and-so has. If God would have given me what he gave them, if I had more time, if I had more talent, if I had more treasure or money, then sure, I would give what God has given me, but I don't have as much as them, or as much as them, or as much as them. Really? Is the focus on this passage what was given, or is the focus on this passage the commendation because of what was done with what is given? I cannot control, you cannot control the way that the Lord has orchestrated in the economy of his kingdom who is getting what? In terms of talent, in terms of time, even in terms of treasure sometimes. I mean, God is drawing boundary lines on these things. What is incumbent upon us is that we would be the type of people who say, whatever it is, we are going to give it. Whatever it is, we are going to use it. Remember this passage last week? I think it's very good and powerful to remember from Scripture. I will acknowledge you with all my ways. I will not only know, but I will show. I will have a knowledge of God in every area of my life, whether you've given me athletic ability, whether you've given me business acumen, whether you've given me something relationally that's just off the charts and I can make relationships and ease in and out of conversations and whatever it is, money. You give me ability to make money. I'm going to leverage that for your kingdom. Instead, some of us are kind of side-eye looking at other people because of the talents that they have. And I've told you this story before. You know what it's a little bit like? If you're one who is thinking to yourself, well, I don't have a lot of time, talent, or treasure. I don't have these things. Then let me ask you which camp you kind of fall in, okay? Little parable here in terms of story. You see this in different financial books and stuff, but it's very applicable here, okay? I want you to imagine one family that's got one little lamb. They've only got one, and here's their attitude about it. Can you believe we've only got one lamb? Those guys over there in the city, they got 100 lambs. They got lambs everywhere. They're rich. Can you believe all we got is this one little lamb? I mean, the deck is so stacked against us. Can you imagine all the things that they're doing over there with all those lambs? And we've only got one, and it's never going to change. It's all the world's fault. You know what we're going to do? Man, just forget the whole thing. Just go ahead and cook them up. Just go ahead and let's just have a party and just forget the whole thing because we're never going to get anywhere. Of course, there's another family that says, we only have one lamb. So this lamb is going to be the greatest taken care of lamb that has ever been in the history of the world. Kids, get out of your room. The lamb now has your room. Right? He's going to eat human food. He's going to sleep in the house. He's going to get brushed every single day. Why? Because if we can grow this lamb up, then maybe one day, through neighbors or whatever, we can have 2 lambs. And maybe one day, we'll have a family of lambs. And maybe one day, will grow into having more influence, more to leverage, more. Now, let me ask you this. What camp do you sit in with that stuff? I mean, the world is so oriented this way. Man, either we are kind of an agent in our own story or we're just a victim. And so what I want to ask you is, wait a minute, what is it for you? You may think, man, I don't have a ton today. Well, okay, that's a good reason to steward it all the more. And to think about, well, man, how can I leverage what I do have because I don't have a ton? Where are you at with these things today? Maybe you're today and go, well, I could tithe, but I don't think it would even make a difference because it's so little money. Really, do we not understand that God is the owner of a cattle on 1,000 hills? The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. You think God needs your money? You think he needs my money? Or is there something else a little deeper going on here? It might be that he's the one who hands out 5, 2, or 1. It might be about him interacting with us to say, enter into my joy we all have the same opportunity to leverage what he has given to us. Now, I've given you the positive side of the story, but it's going to take a turn. Okay, so here we go. Verse 24. He also, who had received the 1 talent, came forward saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here, you have what is yours. But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with bankers, and at my coming I should have received at least my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. Oh, by the way, and cast him, the worthless servant, into the outer darkness, in that place where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now, I want us to go back to what I said in the intro for a moment. Maybe you're brand new with us this weekend. Welcome to Mercy Hill. Okay, this is a big, I know, it's a big weekend. But listen, seriously, you might be new with us today, and what you're thinking is Christianity is a list of things that you're not supposed to do so that God will be okay with you. Well, I want to correct. There's a lot of things wrong with that. Okay, and we're going to get into some of that, even in terms of just the gospel story in a moment. But I do want to correct one of it right off. Man, the Christianity that is authentic, it is not about a list of things not to do. It's about a God who has woken you up from death to life and is now making you into the type of person who loves stuff, who loves his mission, who loves to partner with him, who wants to engage. Those are two different ideas. If one idea is, I'm going to do things, I'm going to try really hard not to do these things because God doesn't like it, or he is making me into somebody. Man, he has already declared me a precious child of his through Jesus Christ and his blood, but now he's making me in practice what he has declared me to be in truth. And it's a totally different thing. All right, so what I want to call you to do is not think about the negative don'ts. Let's think about who he's making us to be. Really, this is an application here for us this weekend. Steward God's gifts to grow God's kingdom. Let's steward, that's as plain as I can say it. Steward God's gifts to grow his kingdom. This is a hard truth. Y'all, this story is about a servant who doesn't serve. This story is about a servant who in fear shrinks back rather than in faith steps forward. I'm afraid of losing what he has given me, and so I don't jump. I'm not going to jump in faith. I'm going to shrink in fear. Now, some of us, this might be something we need to talk about with our money today, but I'm going to tell you, how many of us have had that thought? I don't want to start that group. What if it fails? I don't want to let my child go on that mission trip. What if they get sick? I don't want to get married. What if I lose my independence? I don't want to give my money. What if I lose my security? And you know what happens? Let me just step aside for 1 second here. You know what happens? Many times we will couch these things, especially when it comes to our finances, we will couch it in piety by acting as if taking risks is bad stewardship. Are you hearing this story? That is the opposite of stewardship. Stewardship is risk-taking to grow the kingdom. That's what stewardship actually is. I don't know how many times I've heard stories of the deacon board that's letting the church die, chokehold with decision making. There's tons of money in the bank, but they won't spend it. Why? Because they've got to make sure the lights stay on and they can keep the cemetery up. Let me tell you something. Churches don't die because they don't have money. They die because they're not growing. And you know a lot of times when they stop growing? When a bunch of people decide they're going to be good stewards. They actually become the opposite of good stewards. A good steward in this passage is one who is willing to risk and engage. Now, I don't know what could have happened, and I'm on thin ice here if you start surmising about parables, okay? But it's like, hey, what if one of the servants would have said, man, I did my absolute best and I lost some of your money? I don't know exactly what would have happened. So this is just a little conjecture. I'm giving you the preface of that. Feels to me like maybe the master would have said, hey, man, next time you'll do a little better, but good try. You understood enough about me to know that I gave you this for a purpose. I didn't give you the guitar so that you could sit up late at night and say, I'm not even going to take it out of the case because what if I scratch it? Right? I'm not going to give you something that's that precious and then have you say, well, I'm not going to play it for the little kids on the reservation because what if one of them breaks something on it? And I'm so scared that I can't even give what has been given. No. What this passage is about is true stewardship. And stewardship is the idea of risk-taking with what has been entrusted to us. You know, you think about the manager here and why he got so upset. Again, y'all, parables are a story that have a big overall point, okay? If you start trying to slice and dice them, you can get into some weird theology real fast. So I'm not trying to slice and dice. I think we all understand the big idea here. But why is the manager so upset? Well, I'm going to tell you one thing he says. He invokes the servant's words. And he says, well, you knew I reap where I don't sow. I think it's something like this. It's not just that he doesn't make a profit is why he's upset. He's upset because of the way this servant was viewing the situation. Man, you took what was mine and didn't leverage it. You buried it, and then you tried to hang it on me. And that, I think, is what caused a lot of the angry reaction. And what happens? He proves himself not to be a servant. He was a servant who didn't serve. And a servant who doesn't serve is not really a servant. They're masquerading as something. And what happens in this story? He's cast out into the outer darkness. Now, let's talk about us, okay? I think with parables, the point is absolutely clear. And here's what I would say if I was just going to thesis the whole thing, all right? It's not really a big idea, but this is what I would say about the whole parable. We don't all have the same resources, but we have the same opportunity to steward what we have. Remember, steward is not protecting. Steward is risking for kingdom, okay? Being a good steward grows what God has given them for his kingdom. We have all been given the same opportunity to grow his kingdom. And this is the purpose for, guys, Jesus Christ, he has come and he has given us life and purpose. You have a purpose. The purpose is to move the needle for God's kingdom in your moments, in your days, every one of your days. This is what he's called us to do. And if we're missing our purpose, we end up in all types of dysfunction. Man, we're looking for things, we're looking for purpose, we've made the chief end of our life stuff that it's not, leads to all types of destructions and addictions that are in our life, and yet what he's saying here to us is, wait a minute, I've given you things to give things. Gifts are given to be given. This is your purpose, that you would leverage your life for the kingdom. All the days of your life, whether you're a teenager or whether you're a fourth quarter or overtime person. Okay, I've given you these things so that you will wake up tomorrow and move the needle. We have a purpose. You know, I told you guys this before, but about twice a year, I get a chance to go hog hunting with some buddies of mine from South Carolina that I went to college with. It's so fun. I got to take AP in January. It was super fun. And the coolest thing about it is these dogs, okay? I mean, these dogs have been bred for 200 years to do one thing: smell a hog, find a hog, bite a hog. That's it. That is their whole sole purpose in life. They have awesome names too: Wormy, Punky Brewster, okay? Polar Bear, Iceman, all right? And I'm telling you, you've never seen anything in terms of purpose until you've seen a dog hit the ground knowing what it's supposed to do. If you took one of them dogs and you tried to make him a house dog with a Halloween costume like a bunch of y'all did, okay? That sounded like I was judging you. All right, so I'm going to tell you though, if you try to put one of them costumes on Wormy, all right, you try to put him in an apartment and make him like a lap dog, house dog, he will tear the place apart and then die of depression. Okay? He is not made for that life. That's not what he's made to do, man. He's been bred for 200 years to do one thing: find a hog, smell a hog, bite a hog. That's it. And I think about that with us. Y'all, in the gospel, God has not only given us life, but he has given us a purpose. And that purpose is that we would go forth and make other disciples. Y'all, think about how good Jesus is to us to give us life and purpose. You know, he didn't have to do this. I mean, you think about us. We in sin are separated from God. He could have wiped the whole thing away, but instead, he continues to woo us. Instead, he says, no, I'll send my son to die on the cross to bring you back into relationship with me so that you can fulfill the purpose for which you were created. Let me ask you something. Why were Adam and Eve created? What were they called to do? Be fruitful and multiply. What are we as disciples called to do? Now, it's a different way. I'm not saying we all go get married and have a bunch of kids, although that's a good thing. Okay, it's not a bad thing. But I think about what we're called to do. What did Jesus say? Make disciples of all nations. Jesus didn't come just to give us this new mission. It's a little bit of a different spin, but it's the same idea. Spiritually now, we would go forward making little spiritual children of all nations of the earth. This is the purpose that he has given us, and he's done it by his blood. He not only gave us life when we admit and believe and confess, but he has given us a great purpose in our life as well. And I want to call you to jump in terms of a moment today with that purpose, all right? For some of you guys today, I want to call you to jump in, all right? We've talked about this language, jump in, increase, jump in, finish strong, increase, okay? And so for some of you guys, I want to call you to jump in, off the sideline and onto the front line today. Now look, at Mercy Hill, we talk all year about these different things. There's ways to jump in. Man, jump into the weekender, serve in an age-based ministry, serve in the community. Think about giving your time and talent and treasure away. Think about Pregnancy Network. We were just at the gala. I felt like half the whole people that were there were from our church. I couldn't have been more proud. And people giving to things that are not Mercy Hill. I love it, love all of it. We call you to all that kind of stuff all year, okay? But now is a time in our church's life where we're going to narrow the focus and say specifically here, wait a minute, in the gospel, God has given us life and a purpose. What are we going to do in terms of our generosity? All right. So if you are new with us, one of the 500 to 700 people that are brand new, man, I want to call you to jump off the sideline and onto the front line. Man, jump in with us. We need you. We cannot be one of these churches who people start jumping in. You guys remember the merry-go-round illustration, okay? You remember merry-go-round when you were a kid, all right? They don't really do them anymore because everything's, you got to bubble wrap a kid and it's an incident report if they scrape their knees, okay? So, but, the whole point of the merry-go-round is to get the thing going fast enough it throws people off, right? That was the whole point. Here's the deal. You got a bunch of people jump on the merry-go-round but aren't willing to push. What happens? Slows way down. Man, we can't be that. Hey, I don't know how it is that God has brought you here. He's brought you here because you moved here. He's brought you here because there's some kind of transition in your life. He's brought you here because a friend of yours invited you. There's something going on. You're brand new to the faith. We got all that kind of stuff mixed up. It's all coming, all right? Man, he's got you here for some reason. And we want to call you off the sideline. Jesus didn't die for you to be a spectator. He died for you to participate in this mission. And for some of you, man, you're like, you're thinking about tipping God. No. We're talking about going way deeper than that. Maybe for some of you, it means like, man, what I was thinking, I need to add a zero. What I was thinking, I need to double. Man, I need to go in a way that shows, God, you're my deepest desire, and I want to move the needle for your kingdom. Hey, we're not quite done. I got a couple more things, but I want to show you guys a quick testimony for some people that are in the jump in bucket here, all right? You guys check out this testimony video of the Gans.
We have 4 children that are adopted. Harmony, who's 11, Caden, who's 9, Lexi, who's 8, Zuri, who is 7.
And everybody's adopted through the foster care system.
They are all siblings, same birth parents. And we found out about Lexi probably about 6 months into the process.
DSS basically didn't think anybody would want her because she's got a lot of unique special needs. We started doing sibling visits, and you could see how much they loved her and she loved them. They are a family. We are a family. And that's just how we rolled with it.
We lived in Louisville and we went to Southeast Christian, which is a rather large church. And they have a ministry called Shine Disabilities, dealing with folks who have needs. They basically take care of them for you while you're there at church. So even if you're volunteering, the kids can stay there for a couple of hours. It was by far probably like the best place for her to be on Sunday mornings.
Oh, yeah.
As we found out we were moving back to North Carolina, I called and spoke to the pastor at the Northeast campus, Kyle, and just told him, hey, we like what Mercy Hill's doing, but, I've got this one child with these needs, and I told him about Shine. So he called him, and it kind of solidified it for me that he took the steps to call and try to find out to make it an accessible church for us at the Northeast campus by trying to get volunteers aware of Lexi and her conditions and help find some extra volunteer support. She's been pushed by security guards.
I know, that's one of my favorites. I love seeing the big grown security guys just pushing her down the hall. We just just knew that it was right. We loved the music, the sermons, always right on. We knew that we wanted to serve because that's part of being a Christian, is giving back to your church. So I just jumped in, and Darren has served some in the production. We always have known that, the Bible says you're supposed to give your tithe. But I think for us, and I know this probably sounds stupid, we would just forget. If you don't do it first, then that money's gone. Because it can find other places to go.
Deeper helped us remember that we need to return the blessing that we've been given. To be in remembrance of all the blessings, and that we can teach our kids more by showing them to give back and be a part of and serve. Because they'll remember our actions more than they'll ever remember our words. We're jumping in to serve however we can.
Man, what a family, what a special little angel, and what a cool story that, this thing is, it all is kind of hanging together. Man, adoption, church planning, our generosity. So, hey, some of you guys are brand new over the last year, and we're calling you to jump in. Hey, others of you, though, and I think, my wife's going to talk about this, Anna's going to talk about this in just a minute. We're calling you to finish strong. That's what I'm writing on my card. Man, we want to finish strong, We made a God-sized commitment for us a year ago, and God hasn't moved that for me, but I just feel like, man, we're going to be head down trying to make that happen and put it in God's hands for the rest of for the rest of this year and next year, and we're excited about that. Hey, but there's a third bucket, and I want to make sure I say this. Man, some of us really need to wrestle with this card in terms of increasing maybe what God laid on your heart last year, and here's what I mean. This is this dynamic thing. It's not a static thing. Some of us put something down that was really faith-based last year, and then God doubled our business, or we sold a business, or something crazy happened with the stock market in terms of something that you sold, or I don't know what it could be in your life. But if that's where you are, I really wanted you to think about this for a moment. Or maybe you just went way deeper in the life of the church. Maybe last year you were around, but the trust level, I'm not totally sure, and I can do a lot more, but I don't know what it is. But maybe you've already fulfilled the commitment, or that's going to be on autopilot for you. Then what could you do in terms of an increase? Man, we've talked about this, y'all. We have big, big things in front of us. Man, that we move regional and regional north all together, and then as soon as we do that, man, 3 or 4 other dominoes fall in terms of Worship Academy and stuff we're doing with foster care and all that kind of stuff. So right now, man, the generosity of the church is needed. This is a crossroads moment for us. And so I want to call you, if God has moved in a way that can have you increase, I'm telling you, maybe it's like, well, it's 5 digits, but you could do 6. Maybe there's people that could do 7. I don't know. But I'm going to say, hey, it's not about what we've been given. It's about what we're going to do with what we have been given. Let me set this up, and then I'm going to give you guys a couple of minutes to reflect on this yourself. But if everybody could kind of just find this card with us here today. And, this card is pretty simple. Basically, it kind of walks like this, all right? If I'm new, the top part of this card, this is for you. And it's like, man, you're newer. You weren't here last fall. And it's basically just forecasting out. I know you've already been probably spending some time with this card. But you're forecasting out, this is what I think we can give over the next 12 months. Now, I need to say this, okay? It actually is 13 months because it's Christmas, it's December this year and all of next year, okay? So it says 12 months, but I know for us, December is a significant time of more giving. Maybe it's that way for you, so I would factor that in. So if you're new, that's you. And then if you're already committed to deeper, then you're in one of two camps. Either you're in the camp of, man, we're going to finish strong, and you can put that on there. You can put what your commitment was or whatever, and you're going to confirm that. Or, man, God has dealt generously with you, and you want to be generous in a way that's even more, and you can write on there that you're going to increase, and you can tell us what that is. And, man, that's going to help us with planning and all that kind of stuff. So, guys, remember what stewardship is. Stewardship is growth-oriented risk-taking. That's what it is. Man, it's not protection. Guys, you can say it like this. We risk our lives or we waste our lives. Man, we risk for the kingdom, we're risky for the kingdom, or, you can say it another way like this. This is just one of those quotes that you've probably heard before. Growth and comfort can't coexist. It's like, man, I'm in that moment of like, man, are we going to stretch? It's not comfortable, But that's where we're at. That's what risk is. So take this card for a minute. You guys just take it in your seat, wrestle with it, pray over it, whatever you want to do, and then I'm going to come back up and we'll do a final charge, and then we're going to commit together. All right, hey guys, we're gonna enter into a time where we're gonna worship, and we're gonna have a chance to commit together here this weekend. But before we do that, I did want you guys to hear from Anna just for a moment. She did this last year in terms of just kind of updating a little bit of where our family is, and so I want to give her a chance to do that.
Yeah, so last year we started wrestling with the question of asking ourselves, like, God, are you our deepest desire? And I think for me, the word picture that I've been thinking about so much over this past year has come from John 15, which we heard a sermon on several weeks ago, of abiding. And that word has swirled around and around. And God, you are my deepest desire. And so therefore that looks like me daily abiding in you. And so, and thinking about that, every night when I put Faith Ann to bed, I sing her several different hymns. And one of them is Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus. And that is a song I have sung my whole entire life being raised in a Baptist church. But over the past couple of months, it's the chorus that has struck me so much. Turn your eyes upon Jesus, look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. And in thinking about God, you are my deepest desire. What does that look like? Abiding in you. God, keeping my eyes fully fixed on you so that everything else in this world grows strangely dim. You know, the world wants nothing more than for us to look at everything that we have and hold it clenched fist, saying, nope, this is mine. But in light of the gospel and in light of God's glory, as believers, we can open our hands and say, no, God, it is all yours. Like Andrew said, we have been called to steward the things that he has given us. And so for our family last year, our commitment looked like saying we wanted our biggest line item for our budget to be our giving. We wanted our giving to be a reflection of God being the deepest desire of our hearts, bigger than our savings, our house payment, but not only in priority of line items, but in priorities of our hearts. And what a joy it is to see God using the things that he has given us that we open-handedly give back to him and desire for him to use for his glory. And so I don't know where you are. Maybe you are in that finish strong like we are, but maybe you haven't even jumped in, and this is an incredible opportunity for you to jump in. Or maybe the Lord has blessed you above all that you could ask or imagine, and so you need to write something new on that card. But whatever it is, you've got to wrestle with the question, God, are you my deepest desire? And then respond to that.
Yeah, so hey guys, this is the moment. We're going to worship together, and we're going to come forward. This is cool. We have the opportunity to put these in these little baby horse troughs, okay, because the actual horse troughs are filled up with water this weekend, which is cool. Because last year, if you remember, we did them in the baptismals, but So anyway, hey guys, this is a spiritually significant moment. I pray that you'll take it as such. We're all going to stand together now. You guys can stand across all of our different campuses. And as the music starts to play, we're going to declare together that you are more than enough. That's another way of saying you are more than, you are our deepest desire. And so as the music begins to play at your campus, you can come forward and commit together.